Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and I'm here today with a video to give you some easy tips on how to better do damage as a Havoc Demon Hunter. We're gonna do one general one, two for single target, two for Mythic Plus, and these are gonna be nice, easy, simple tips that you can incorporate pretty quickly in order to see that little bump in damage in whatever you're doing. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are still pushing for 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are like 750 away, which is super great, so we're almost there. And liking obviously helps spread the video to more people. With that, onto it. All right, so here we are in game, and one of the first things I want to talk about is Fury management. Specifically, it's not spending down to zero when you have a Blade Dance available. So we're just going to do like a little opener here, and I'll talk about it. So if you see my Fury bar here, one, I would heavily recommend you actually get one because a Fury bar is super useful, just to track. Oop, I didn't push Essence Break. It's fine. Just to track how much Fury you're using. But at this point, once we're out of our opener, we're going to go into a situation where we're basically using Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, and both are very important to push. But what I see a lot of people do is you kind of want to bounce between two different Fury situations. You never want to be down to zero, and you never want to overcap. But what else is important is you always want to be able to push Blade Dance nearly as soon as it's available. As you see here, I'm kind of playing around 50 to 70 Fury, running out of Fury here, Fell Blade, boom, go like that. So we never want to overcap, but at the same time we also want to be able to use Death Sweep almost every single time it's available, so that we can get, you know, as many casts of that as possible. Now obviously here my rotation is not 100% perfect because I'm talking. I should have done things a little different order there, but what that basically means when you're outside of meta is that you end up pooling a bit before you end up going into your I-Beam. The reason for that is because every time we I-Beam, we also are going to use our Death Sweep right away. So see there, I have 70 before I go in. That lets me use my Death Sweep and a bunch of Annihilations pretty freely, and even get a second one if I had a little bit more haste. So as you can see, you kind of want to play it between like the 50 to 40 range, and then like the 90 range on the top end. And doing this doesn't actually cause you to lose any damage, because as long as you spend down to zero at the end of the fight, you're actually not missing anything. So that's the first easy tip. First easy tip is to just make sure you always have enough Fury to Blade Dance as soon as it's on like off cooldown, and obviously never cap, right? So generally if you're below 40 Fury, you can generate Fury with Fell Blade, Sigil Flame, Immolation Aura, whatever. And if you're above 100 Fury, don't generate anything, just spend down. The next one I see kind of relates to this a little bit, but oftentimes when I look at people's logs or when people ask me for help, one of the things I notice the most is they're just not pushing Chaos Strike or Annihilation enough. Now, there could be a few reasons for that. One, their Fury management could be poor, which obviously the first one kind of covered that. But two, they honestly could just not be thinking about it. They could be holding it too much, thinking like, oh, you know, Death Sweep's coming up, I gotta make sure I have that. One of the things that's really important for Havoc's just damage in general is using Chaos Strike and Annihilation. Now, if we see here in that, I don't even know how long I was in combat for, but that short section I just did, this is the details for it. I used Chaos Strike 14 times and Annihilation 25 times. So a total of 39 times in that short amount of time. Compared to everything else, that is by far the most. I use Death Sweep 8, Blade Dance 4, and then everything else doesn't really matter. So the main reason why this is so important is twofold. So the big one is that it gives us Fury back. Obviously, Critical Chaos we're not taking, but there is still a refund involved with using it. I actually don't know if there's a passive for it in here anyways, but it is a refund that happens. Here we go, 20% chance to refund 20 Fury. So that's actually pretty good because it gives us Fury back. Obviously, no Critical Chaos means that doesn't happen as often, but it still is a 20% chance to generate Fury for us, which is a huge deal. But the other big one is Demonic Appetite, which means that you just summon a Soul Fragment. And Soul Fragments are very, very good for two reasons. One, they give you 20 Fury. So if you get a refund and a Soul Fragment back, boom, that's actually another Chaos Strike you can use, which is pretty huge. But also, of course, we're playing Eldrazi Reader. And every soul you get gives you another Art of the Glaive. Well, 1/6 of an Art of the Glaive, which generates you more Fury, which gives you more souls through this one, which gives you a damage increase, which gives you the Reaver's Mark, sets up the funnel. So every single time that you use Chaos Strike, you're having a very high chance of generating more Fury and doing more damage. So oftentimes I see people just like not using Chaos Strike as often as they should be. Obviously we're doing like a little combo here, but you really want to be using Chaos Strike as often as you can, while still following that first thing where you're staying and making sure you can always use Blade Dance, otherwise filling with Chaos Strike and just spending down as much as physically possible, so that you are taking full advantage of all the things it can generate, all the things it can give you, and so on and so forth. So making sure you use Chaos Strike. It is something that I tell people all the time, but I feel like I can never say it too much. It is very important you're using Chaos Strike as much as you can while still playing with your combos and still using Blade Dance. So another thing, the next thing is going to be staying in range. Now again, this sounds like a stupid one. It's like, obviously I want to stay in melee. But Havoc, because of the movement talents, and more so in Mythic Plus where we play initiative but we don't play tactical retreat, which gives it a 25-second cooldown instead of a 20-second cooldown, we are going to be using Vengeful Retreat all the time. We're using it every 20 seconds. We use Hunt, we use stuff like that. And it's very important that you stay in range for a few reasons. So the first one right here, and you'll see this little thing above my bar here, this is a melee tracker. Now you don't necessarily need this, but I do find it useful, less so this season because we are I-beaming so often. But I find it useful to be able to track when I need to be in range again in order to not miss a melee swing, right? That's a huge thing in Generating Fury. So if I'm trying to be optimal here, I'll flash out here and I'll get back in and I actually won't even miss a swing, because by the time I go out and come back, I will not have like missed one and I'll generate full Fury. The other reasons you want to stay in range are twofold. You have your Blade Dance, right? Has an 8-yard range, so if I go over here, can't hit with it, right? But the big thing that is if you're moving while you use that and you end up going out of range, you can still hit with the AoE component. But if you're out of range of the target, then you're not going to hit with your First Blood, which is a big deal because First Blood is most of its damage, right? I don't know if you can actually show the breakdown here, but most of the damage from Blade Dance is the Chaos portion, which is significantly stronger. So we look at the crit, like 1 million versus 155,000. That's a huge difference. You really do not want to be missing on the Chaos portion. And finally, the last thing is actually Immolation Aura, which we were all going to touch on more in a second. But Immolation Aura deals a ton of damage for us, specifically in AoE. You have Rage Fire. So while you're VRing, you have to make sure that you're staying in range of Immolation Aura. You have to make sure you're watching your melees and you're not actually wasting any Blade Dance damages. Now, of course, normally we're going to backflip into I-beam in single target, so it's not that big of a deal. But when you do have Vengeful Retreat, you want to imagine that your target is a triangle, right? Or is the center point of a triangle, I guess I should say. So if we have our triangle here, right, the target's going to be my nose because I only have 2 hands. And you want to VR in a way that you're either going through your target, so I go like this, where I'm through my target, I maintain uptime, or if the target's bigger, obviously this is a dummy, it's not bigger, you go side to side. Now, in Mythic Plus, this is much more important because, again, we have a Rage Fire, and Rage Fire only has a 5-yard radius, unless you're obviously playing Fel-Scarred. But in Mythic Plus, it's also easier to maintain at least some modicum of uptime, because let's say we're in this pack here, right? I'll pop Immolation Aura, I can backflip through it and still pretty stay in like range for most of the pack while I'm doing that. So it's not like that crazy of a deal to go out and go back in. But it's very important that you remember that to stay in melee as much as you can with Vengeful Retreat, so you're not missing swings. Boom, go back in, didn't miss a swing, didn't miss a swing. Because you can generate more Fury, which generates more Chaos Strikes, which generates more Souls, and so on and so forth. All right, so next we're going to talk about optimizing Immolation Aura. Now, as a Havoc Demon Hunter in Mythic Plus, Immolation Aura for both Eldrazi Reaver and Fel-Scarred, although especially for Fel-Scarred, is some of your strongest damage, right? Right there with I-beam, right there with your Glaze and stuff like that. Reason for this is this left side of the tree over here, right? We got Growing Inferno, where every time Immolation Aura deals damage, it deals 10% more damage. We have Burning Wound, which honestly it's capped at 3, so this isn't that big of a deal, but it does cause the target to take 40% more damage from Immolation Aura, which is a pretty sizable increase. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, I don't think they ever changed this. Rage Fire just takes the first 3 crits. It doesn't take the largest crits. So it doesn't always guarantee that you're gaining full value from this to your Rage Fire, but it is still a good damage increase. And of course, there is Rage Fire. Very, very powerful. Each time you deal damage, 30% of the damage dealt by 3 critical strikes is gathered into Rage Fire, and then when Immolation Aura expires, Rage Fire explodes and deals that damage, which is really strong. Now, this is sort of uncapped in a way where the hit itself does not square root. It hits the same amount of damage to any number of targets, but Immolation Aura is square rooted. So when you're hitting, I think it's I believe it's 8 target capped. It could be 5. I believe it's 8. You're going to actually deal less damage than Immolation Aura. So as you gain in target counts, Immolation Aura will do less damage. So Rage Fire will do less damage, but it will hit all the targets the same. So it's kind of this weird, not uncapped thing. And then of course there's also a Fire inside, which has just makes it chaos. So the big thing here is that you want to have Burning Wound available in your target when you can. If you have Fury, that means you can, Sigil Flame, and you just throw a glaive as you walk in. The next thing, so have Burning Wound on your target, is you want to make sure you're in range for when you use the initial hit of your Immolation Aura. The first hit is by far the strongest, compared only really to the last hit, but it's one of the biggest single hits you could do, which will funnel a lot of damage into your Rage Fire. So making sure you're in range when you have the first hit is very, very important. And the last thing is that, like, you want to make sure you're in range, again, the whole time. If I'm out of range here, while I'm eye-beaming, not the best, right? But as long as I'm in range for Rage Fire, it's fine. However, if I were to leave, you know, like, I don't know, like, let's say it comes back up and I have to go out to do something or whatever, if I'm out of range when Rage Fire explodes, you're going to lose a ton of damage that way. Now, Immolation Aura, again, is such a strong tool for us that we also want to have as many buffs on it as we can. So ideally, you know, you'll have your I-beam buff, well, not I-beam buff, sorry, the haste does matter, but not as much, but you'll have like initiative, you'll have the thrill of the fight buff. The boom, I have initiative and thrill the fight up, so this Immolation Aura is going to crank now, and you want to just have like as much things buffing it as you can. I have all the crit from that, I have thrill of the fight, and that's going to lead into some really chunky Rage Fires. You're doing a lot of damage with Rage Fire, you're doing a lot of damage with Immolation Aura, and you're just kind of blasting, right? So moral of the story here is that Immolation Aura is very important for your damage in Mythic Plus. You want to play around it as much as you can. Try and have your Burning Wounds up on the targets when you come into the pack if you have any Fury. If you don't have Fury, not a big deal. Try and have initiative, try and have any buffs you can while you're using it, and just try and make sure you hit with the first hit and you hit with the last hit in Rage Fire. That's the most important part because those are the strongest hits. And as we can see here, things are increasing as they deal damage over time. That first hit is one of the strongest ones, dealing the most damage by far compared to all the other ones. So there you go. And my last easy tip is also from Mythic Plus, and that is like, just try out some Fel-Scarred. So if you are not pushing the highest keys, if you're not pushing, I don't even know what level this would be right now because key inflation has gone pretty crazy and I haven't done a ton of keys recently. But like, honestly, probably even like 15s and below, maybe even 16s. A lot of the time, the funnel from Eldrazi Reaver isn't super important. And if you're pugging or if you just want to try something different, Fel-Scarred deals a ton of damage and is a lot simpler to do in Mythic Plus because you don't have to worry about the glaive stuff, right? It's basically just use I-beam, blow up, and then a lot of your damage is carried by Flamebound. This is huge. So this gives Immolation Aura a 2-yard increased radius, which I believe makes it 8 yards or 7 yards or something like that. Or maybe 10. I think it's 8 yards naturally and then goes up to 10 yards. But also gives it a 50% increased crit strike damage bonus. That's huge. So on top of the crit strike damage bonus you're getting from your enemy, you also have this one. Whenever you crit with Immolation Aura, you're dealing a crazy amount of damage. So I believe it's additive. So I have like 50% crit on top of the 100% that crit already does. So crits with Flamebound deal 300%, 200% extra damage. Which is pretty crazy. Obviously, you know, varies on what your crit is. But this means that Immolation Aura is super huge for the damage there, but also means that it's very passive, right? Only thing you have to really care about is dealing damage properly with your I-beams and stuff like that. On top of the fact that Flamebound's already better in 2 dungeons already, no matter the level, right? It's already better. I don't know why I pushed that button. It's already better in Workshop. It's already better in Floodgate. It's just a very, very, very good thing all around and does a ton of burst damage with its I-beams, with its Immolation Auras, with its Demon Surges. You can see here I'm bursting for 10 million damage on 5 targets, which is pretty huge. Now, it doesn't do as much outside of that. It's mostly carried by your Immolation Aura damage. But what you can do with this is super strong, and I really would recommend checking it out if you ever wanted to. So boom, Immolation Aura is going to do like absolutely crank at this point. And you can see here that I-beam, Rage Fire, Immolation Aura, significantly higher than anything else. So the damage on this is there. It's very, very easy to play, which is why I'm including it here. Try it out in your next weekly key, or if you're pushing up to like a 15 or something, or if you're in a Workshop or a Floodgate, try it out. It's very, very good, and it's very easy to get really good damage from it. And there we have it. Those are some easy tricks for you to incorporate into your play style, your gameplay, whatever, in order to get just that little extra bump for Havoc Demon Hunter in terms of damage. Now, not all of them will be useful to you, but hopefully some of them are. Hopefully you learn something or are thinking of something in a different way to help you deal some more damage as a Havoc Demon Hunter in this season. So hope you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Any other small tips would also be, I guess, helpful for people reading the comments. Yeah, sorry for the little gap in content. Things should be starting more back to normal hopefully soon. We'll see what happens, of course. Life's crazy sometimes. But I do appreciate all the support on the channel and everything like that. You guys are awesome. Love making content for you guys, and just love the support I've been getting, and hopefully we'll continue to get into the future. So you guys are amazing. Like the video so it spreads to more people. Subscribe so we hit 15,000 subscribers. And I hope these help you. And I'll see you guys next time with another video. Peace. A big thank you to everyone watching my videos, but especially to my channel members. Thank you Alexander Trifunovic, Rukaza, Fear Redefined, Loose Change, Jorge Polanco, Matthew Barr, Zuligan, Chocobo Merc, Gabriel Correa, Matchman 133, and Falafadar Dark Terror. Thank you so much to everybody. If you want to join and support me in making videos, consider following the link below. I will be adding more perks to this over the summer as I get more time, including log review, which isn't available right now. But again, I do appreciate everybody just supporting me and watching the videos. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Peace.